Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 68 of the Computer Business Marketing Show. Our show today is brought to you by Tech Blog Builder. Tech Blog Builder is the blog writing service for IT businesses. With Tech Blog Builder, you can get consistent, well-written, search engine optimized blog posts published directly to your website for an affordable and predictable monthly subscription. Learn more at techblogbuilder.com. On today's show, Paco interviews me about how to optimize your website's blog posts. We talk about how to structure your posts, how long they should be, what's a meta description, and are white label content providers a good idea? Plus, Paco clues us in on how he's using a site called Have I Been Pwned to help market his new services to his customers. All that and so much more coming up right now. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Computer Business Marketing Show. If you own or work in an IT services business, this is the place to learn how to get more clients, keep them happy, and grow your revenue. You can watch, download, and or subscribe to all show episodes at computerbusinessmarketing.com.
You can also catch our live stream on Facebook every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. Just be sure to like the Tech Site Builder Facebook page. Click on the following tab and select See First so that the live stream will jump to the top of the feed.
Awesome. So welcome to another episode of the Computer Business Marketing Show. As always, I have my co-host partner in crime, Paco LeBron here. And we would, love to see you guys in the live show. We just spent about 15 minutes talking about office spaces and co-working spaces and talking to the folks in the chat about their experiences and figuring out, what's the best deal where that's concerned. So that's always kind of something you can expect to join in on with the live shows if you join us on Facebook. So we definitely love to see you guys there. So today we the guests are ourselves. Actually, it's me. Paco's going to be kind of interviewing me and picking my brain about how to optimize your blog for your website. So, we talk about how it's important to have a blog for your website, and we've talked about some of the reasons why that is. And now we're going to kind of dig a little bit deeper and find out how to optimize those blog posts once you have them written and you have them on your website. What do you do with them and how do you get the most out of them? So I look forward to getting on the hot seat with Paco on that one. But before we jump into that, Paco, what's been going on in your world lately?
A lot of catch up. So the Labor Day weekend kind of was, although great in Chicago, it rained all the Labor Day weekend. So I couldn't really do much that I wanted to. But so coming in on Tuesday, it was a lot of catch up. And unfortunately, one of my clients had an issue where she fell victim to the CEO scam, where the CEO sent an email saying, hey, update these wiring information for the deposits. And she didn't realize it until it was too late and ended up, wiring that money out. So I got an email on Monday night frantically letting me know, hey, look, I just need to make sure nothing's on my machine, et cetera, et cetera. So I kind of walk her through what she needed to do, which those who haven't had this problem with your clients, if you haven't had this with your client yet, the good thing you want to make sure you let them know is obviously to keep calm, call the FBI, call the Federal Trade Commissions to make sure that they have that all taken care of. I used to suggest calling Homeland Security because that was a tip that was provided by Matt Rainey quite a few years ago. And I know he said that he had a contact in case something like that happened. My client actually called Homeland Security and they were actually bouncing her back to the FBI to do so. So just something updated in case in the event Matt Rainey hears this and needs to update it, or if it's specifically to his contact, obviously we'll update this as it kind of goes along. And yeah, just, better education, kind of just looking at emails, making sure, teaching and education on how the emails are coming through. And then we kind of just ran through that whole gambit. But it's just interesting that happened because I've been on a big pitch lately where that's been happening a lot in the real estate industry. And it's been really kicking up in the last month or two. And it was one of my pitches in the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce's program that I was in. So hearing it happen just proves that I'm on, for me to keep going on and figuring out how to be consistent in that message is kind of my next marketing plan for Q4 coming up here shortly. So I'm going to start marketing everything on that specifically. So that's that. The other piece of it is what I learned from the conference is using the site haveibeenpwned.com and basically using emails I'm doing a two-pronged approach. First prong is basically clients I've been telling over and over again to make sure that they change their passwords, and they weren't listening to me, thinking that it was nothing. I ended up doing that, going and snag it, doing a rolling screenshot in a PDF, emailing them and saying, look, if whatever password you used on these things, you no longer can use them because they can now attack and do whatever they want into your system. I had a case study of a client that has happened to, which we talked about last week. Change your password. So that's been drumming up some training programs, password management services, and things like that. As far as password manager recommendations that Moses had actually just posted, I personally use LastPass. However, Michael Sherwood over at Malwarebytes and on haveibeenpwned.com actually suggest 1Password, I believe is the password manager. And the cool part about 1Password is since it integrates with Have I Been Pawned, it will actually tell the user that this has been a compromised password to change it. So I haven't physically seen that yet, but I think I'm going to start investing my time in using that password manager and seeing the difference. But that may be the password manager I actually move to in this whole stream of things because I want to eat my own dog food and make sure that I'm going to be spreading the right word for it. So that's kind of what I've been doing on that one prong. And then the other prong is basically for all the emails that I sent as an introduction in the area. I'm sending now a second wave of emails saying, hey, not a sales pitch. Just want to let you know you may want to change your credentials. Don't want you to be in the news. Here's what's going on. And then I've had a couple of actually reply saying, hey, what can I do? And we just started that conversation moving forward.
Nice. Yeah, that's cool. You know, I'll be interested to hear what you think about 1Password as well, because I'm pretty well entrenched with LastPass, and I have like some of my team members sharing logins and stuff, and so. But hey, if the the reasons to switch are strong enough, then I might consider it. You know, I'm happy with LastPass, but it has its quirks sometimes, and right. If there's an easier way to do things, I'm all ears.
Right, and there's plenty of them. There's LastPass, there's Dashlane. I think John Dubinsky uses one that's called. I couldn't even lie to you if I wanted to. It's another password manager that he uses as well. I mean, there's so many that are out there. So pick your flavor. There's not a right or wrong answer. This one just may be a little bit easier to help as a sale, and also will help the user as well, kind of seeing it in their face in case they do see something. Might prompt a call for them to call you and get you some hours or consulting time with them.
Well, and I know, that there's not a right or wrong answer, but I know that not all password managers are created equal. I know like on security now, they recommend LastPass because of the type of encryption it uses and like the technology that's behind the way that they deliver the passwords and stuff, and it's super secure. And that's important because of course that's where you're storing all your passwords, and you want to make sure that the service that's doing that knows what they're doing and aren't going to get hacked themselves. Greg uses RoboForm. He said, "Yep, that's another one." Yeah, there are a lot out there. So it's one of those things. Do your homework. Look for someone you trust in the industry who like reviews these things. To kind of follow and see what they think, including our man Paco here, and then use that to make an informed decision.
So one thing, as Greg said, yes, LastPass was breached, but if you look at the details notes of that breach, they were only able to get into a way where nothing was compromised. I can't specifically remember what the technical form of what layer that they tried to get through, but the way that it was designed, yes, they were breached, but nothing was exposed.
Right. And it was like the way it was set up, it would be very a rare circumstance to where someone was actually affected by that. But yeah, I mean,
But good point. Very good point.
Yeah, good to bring that up because any of these companies can be breached or have issues, and we definitely want to get all that out into the open.
Yep.
Cool. So before we jump into the feature topic today, just want to talk about our sponsor, and the sponsor ties perfectly into the topic today. That is Tech Blog Builder. Tech Blog Builder is the place you can go to get blog posts written for your computer business website. So, if you're having trouble getting new clients, or if you're having trouble getting the word out about your business, or people aren't finding your website, or when they find your website, they're not contacting you, that could be because you have an authority issue or you have a trust issue. And one of the best ways to establish authority and trust is through regular blog posting. Publishing regular blog posts is one of the most effective ways to attract a following of those potential customers and then build loyalty with them among your existing clients. So you can use the posts that from Tech Blog Builder on your website, in your newsletter. You can post them to social media, share them to social media. You can create videos around them, put them in ads, etc. Once we write a post for your website, the post belongs to you. That content is yours, and you can do whatever you want with it. It's handcrafted for your business, so the content is unique. It's not some cookie cutter content that we give to all of our clients. It's unique to your business. It's written in the voice of your business, and if you are targeting business clients, then it's going to be very formal writing. If you target residential clients, then it's going to be more informal and kind of friendly in its tone. And we look to you to kind of give us that guidance, and then we take over and write the blog posts in your voice. With Tech Blog Builder, you can get those consistent, well-written, search engine optimized blog posts published directly on your website. So it's totally hands-off for you, and it's at an affordable and predictable monthly subscription. So head on over to techblogbuilder.com, check out the details there, and you can get those blog posts written for your blog, so you can just not worry about that content. Get back to what you do well, which is fixing computers, consulting with clients, selling your services, and leave the writing to a professional copywriter with Tech Blog Builder. Also, don't want to forget to remind you guys to sign up for the Computer Business Marketing newsletter. Just head on over to computerbusinessmarketing.com, and you can sign up for the newsletter there. It's a weekly digest of tips and tricks on how to market your IT services business. We start off with the weekly link to the weekly podcast in case you missed the live stream in Facebook, or you're not subscribed through iTunes. You can catch up with the latest podcast in that email. We also provide a curated list of the latest blog posts from around the internet that are specifically can help your computer business and can help you market your computer business. And then we end the newsletter with some of our favorite posts from the Computer Business Marketing Facebook group, and a tip of the week. It's either a quote or some kind of tidbit that I learned that can help kind of get you motivated for the week ahead. All that for free by going to Computer Business Marketing and signing up for the newsletter there. All right, so let's jump into the featured topic, which is going to be about how to optimize your blog for your website. So the way we'll do this is I'll kind of, let Paco kind of ask me questions that he's been wondering about. Also, you guys in Facebook, if you want to ask me questions about optimizing your blog as well, we can kind of kick things off with that. So what you got for me, Paco?
Yep. So, as everyone kind of thinks about blogs, it's one of those where you think you just put some writing up, you put the post on, and everything's good to go. And we always hear the phrase that, blogging is what will always help your SEO and you getting noticed on the World Wide Web, specifically on search engines and things like that. So I've been on this optimizing kick and just trying to figure out how to properly optimize a blog. Now, one of the questions that I always hear, and this is something that you can answer, is with blog content, they always mention that the headers are very important. The question would be, is using too many headers, will it hurt the content of a blog. So, and by headers, what I mean is that sometimes you'll type out your content or you use your content, and then the title will always be a H1 header, correct?
Right.
Yeah. And then you have H2 and you kind of go through that route. Is having too many of those, will it hurt the traffic or the SEO for the blog? Or having too many, let's say like H2s, and because they're in a different order, will that also cause any issues with organic reach / SEO?
Right. So for those who don't know, who are listening, kind of the way that websites are structured in the code, anytime you have like a heading or a headline that, separates like some sections of a blog post, it's usually bigger text and it's bold and it's kind of stands out. And you do that in the code using what are called header tags. And the tags are either H1 for the main headline, H2 for a sub headline, H3 for like a sub headline, and then you could go all the way down to like H6 is typically as far down as you'll go with the headers. And so, often you'll hear in SEO advice that you want to make sure that you include, a decent amount of headers in your content, and that you make sure to try to put the keyword that you're trying to target with that particular page in a few of those headers, because when Google is crawling a particular website, it looks to those headers to kind of see the structure of the page and to see the topics that page is talking about. So anytime it sees in one of those H tags, it thinks, well, hey, this information must be important. This information must be what this post is about. So it's going to use that when it decides the relevancy of your post, where to put it when people search in the search engines and stuff like that. So that's definitely good, solid advice. You want to have a certain amount of headers on your page. Some best practices for headers is you want to generally follow a logical structure, meaning the highest level header, which is H1, should be at the top. It should be your title. Any other headers you put throughout the page should be H2 or below, and it should kind of go in order. So the first header is H1. The next header you come across should be an H2, and then you can have some subheaders under that, H3, H4, or whatever. But then you then come back around to another H2 maybe later on down the page, and then subheaders under that. So just kind of follow a logical structure as you would if you were formatting a Word document or anything else. As far as having too many headers, I always fall back on what's going to be the best user experience. So what's going to be most comfortable for someone who's reading a post, getting hit in the face with a bunch of headers is probably not going to be the best experience for someone reading the post. Typically a good structure of a post would be, a paragraph or two, a header, a paragraph or two, another header, a paragraph or two, another header, to follow that kind of structure. It can be, you can have just an H1 and your whole blog post. You don't even have to have a header if it doesn't make sense in the structure of your post. It's not going to make or break you too much. I feel like I would lean more towards having good content than having good headers if it's one way or the other. I know some people, I've seen some people have good results with like making a paragraph be an H2 or something, because they're like, I just want to throw all this important information, make it an H2. And sometimes people have had good results with that, but I would caution against kind of workaround tricks like that, or things that aren't necessarily good content, but just a trick to get Google to rank your page higher, because eventually Google's going to catch on to stuff like that, whether they have yet or not. And so if you try to kind of sneak around certain things and trick them into ranking your site better, it's probably eventually going to stop working, and it might eventually have the reverse effect. They might start penalizing pages that have super long H2s or something like that with lots of words in them, because that's just not very natural looking, and you never really encounter something like that in an organically written post. So headers are something that's important to pay attention to. I still recommend having a few headers in your content. I still recommend putting your target keyword in at least one or two of those headers. But definitely don't go overboard, and definitely don't try to stuff your article with too many headers if it doesn't seem natural.
And then as far as the title tag or the H1, does it make sense to have an H1 header in the body of the blog, or should you just leave the title of your blog that you normally put in the example of WordPress, that normally is already bolded, should you have an H1 in the body, or should you start with H2 moving forward on a blog post?
Yeah, that's something that people get confused sometimes because, for example, in WordPress, it depends on the theme you're using. Certain themes, you fill in the title in the editor in the back end, and then certain themes will display the title at the top. Certain themes might not display the title. So you have to kind of look at the way the theme presents the post on the front end. And you might even have to inspect the code or talk to your webmaster, whoever built the site for you, and see if the title of the blog is actually an H1. If it is, then you typically only want one H1 per page, because the H1 is like, it's the headline of the page. That's what this whole page is about. You just, because some people I'll see will add the title again in the body of the article, when typically that's not necessary because the title is already getting displayed on the front end. But yeah, you just want to make sure that the title or whatever is at the top is the H1, and then moving forward below that, H2 and below for the rest of the content.
Gotcha. So you talked a little bit about this when you were, as far as for the headers. What is the ideal blog length for a particular blog? Because I've heard all kinds of suggestions.
Right.
First, they say it should be at a minimum 500 or 500 words. I heard it should be a minimum of 2,000 words so that Google thinks that it's a full-fledged blog. I've heard that you want to make it short to catch readers' attention, but at the same time, Google loves fuller content and users are still going through that many words. Where do you find a happy medium, or if they all work, when you're trying to figure out what to put in on your blog to make sure that it's the most as filling as possible? Because like you mentioned before, if we're not subscribing to Tech Blog Builder, like we're trying to do this on our own and we're trying to do the bare minimum because we got 15 million other things to do.
Right.
What's a good hearty blog to get away with and presenting that type of information?
Yeah, it's tough because you do hear sometimes conflicting information about that, and it's conflicting information because it really depends, right? There's the biggest thing it depends on is, for example, the keywords you're targeting in that post. What kind of competition do you have? If you have nobody that's targeting that keyword, then you can get away with having a shorter post for those keywords. But if you have, other people who are targeting that keyword writing long posts, then, the rule of thumb in SEO is the longer, the better. The more content, the better. You can never really have too much content when it comes to search engines, because, and there's been studies on this. Neil Patel did a pretty famous study on this where he looked at, he's got access to thousands of websites, and he can look at an aggregated list of what does the best as far as content length. And in his results, it showed that once you get to about 2,000 words in length, after that, there's not much value, but going up to that, the closer you can get to 2,000 words, the better. 2,000 words being kind of like the optimal length to really get the best bang for your buck. But you have to balance that with practicality, right? It's not always practical to write a 2,000 word blog post. That's a lot of words. Right. That's a lot of content. And a lot of times your readers aren't going to be interested in reading that long of a blog post. So even though it's optimal to have a super long blog post, you can get away with having it be less than that and still have a big bang for your buck, especially if you're targeting keywords, what's called long tail keywords, which are like, like a full key phrase, something like how to fix a broken iPhone screen, or how to remove blah, blah, blah malware, or, kind of a longer key phrase that probably not a lot of your competition is targeting. Then you can get away with, having a shorter content. For example, Tech Blog Builder, our posts come in right around 800 to 1,000 words. And we find that's a good length for, the kind of long tail keywords we're targeting, and keeps the user interested, provides enough information. You can get some links in there. You can get some headers in there. You can get some different types of content in there. And it's a good, healthy kind of length. So I like that 800 to 1,000. But hey, if you have the time to put in and knock out that 2,000 word blog post or even service page or homepage, because really a blog post is just a web page. So any page on your website, if you can get all that content in there, it can help you more than it can hurt you as far as SEO is concerned.
Gotcha. One of the bigger things that I've been looking into is tags on blog posts. One, why should you have a tag on a blog post? And then two, what are some sources or what are some great inspirations on figuring out how to write good tags for your particular blogs? Because when I first started out, I just started writing like, security, small business, and just stuff like that. But I know that there's an actual art to doing that, specifically on navigation for your site, but also there's other reasons why you want to have good tags on your blog for your site.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm going to throw this out there and be kind of controversial and say that I don't think tags are really necessary, and probably shouldn't even be used for most people listening to this blog post. These days, Google search engines don't really use tags for SEO purposes because it's something that's easily abused. So people can stuff, keywords in the tags, and it could even have nothing to do with the article, but it's so easy to just, to fake and stuff tags that really these days, it's really the only purpose to use tags and categories is for user, user experience. And really those come into play if you're like a news site that publishes dozens of articles a day, and it's hard to find stuff, and people, want to find all your news stories about, Trump, or all your news stories about the wildfires in California or something. Those would be tags that you would put on various stories, and then someone could click that tag and see all the related stories to that particular tag. It could come into play if you want to, categorize or tag your posts around certain topics like virus removal or backups or whatever. And in that case, I would tend towards categories in WordPress speak than tags. Because categories, the way they're structured, it's a little bit more organized. And then you have a list of categories that you've created that you can then select if you create a new blog post that fits into another category. It's a little bit easier from that perspective in WordPress. And I would just skip tags altogether. Tags, these days tags play an important role in like Instagram and social media. But as far as blogs and SEO, they really don't have much impact anymore. And another thing to keep in mind is anytime you tag a post, it creates a separate archive page for that tag that could get indexed, and that could end up giving you duplicate content. So you have a post that shows up on your blog post, but then you also have that same post showing up on your tag archive page, and whatever tag you tagged it on. So you can end up having that blog post showing up a bunch of times, and that can end up diluting your SEO over time. So I'd say skip tags, categorize carefully only when needed.
Gotcha. And a part B to that really quick is how we normally do SEO stuff with the title and the meta description, or meta title and meta description. I can't recall the phrasing right now. Yep. Normally what I do is I just re-put the title, pipe, my company name. But should we be treating the meta description similar like we do with the SEO? Or would that also fall in the same realm as tags and just leave it alone, and just, if you're going to do categories, do it more for the user-friendly navigation?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So you're talking about what's called the meta description and the meta title, which is information that's stored in the code of your website but isn't visible to readers. It's only visible to search engines. And really, it's just meant to be kind of like a informational back-end code to let search engines or other crawlers know that, hey, this is the title of this page. Here's a brief description of this page. More often than not, if you do have those set, that's what Google will use to display on the search results page, the title of your post and the description. So that's, you're really writing the meta title and the meta description for search engines. So sometimes that could differ from the title of your actual blog post. For example, if your blog post title is super long, and that's fine if it's helpful for readers, but search engines like more of a concise title, so you can kind of cut out some of the length or extra words in the title, and just kind of get your keyword, your business name, maybe a couple other words in the title, because you only have so much real estate on the search results pages anyways. So a lot of times your title will get cut off by Google. And if you don't want that to happen, then you kind of shorten your title to bring everything in, and you put that in your meta title area. And same thing with the meta description. By default, Google will just grab like the first paragraph of your post and put that in the search results. If you want something else to show up there, then you would explicitly write a meta description, and Google does read the meta description and use that to determine what your post is about. So for example, if you write a post about I don't know, about how to recover files from a hard drive, so your keyword would be file recovery, but in the opening paragraph of your blog post you might be telling a story about a client, and you might not actually say the word file recovery until like the third or fourth paragraph. But you want that keyword to show up in the meta description, because that's going to then be highlighted if someone searches for the word file recovery in Google. So you want to then craft a meta description that includes the word file recovery in it, just so that not only does Google know that's what the page is about, but also people who see the page show up in search results will know that that's what that article is about as well.
Gotcha. All right. I know we're running out of time soon, but as far as white label content, I know that this is a very particular topic that a lot of people talked about in our communities. I know that it's sometimes frowned upon because of search engine results. Other times I hear that, it's content, you're getting it out there and it's filling up your site. So, just put it out there. What is your suggestion on white label content, specifically, not just on reusing content that were meant for other purposes, but just white label services in general for creating blog content that is not custom to your particular site?
Yeah. So, there are different white label services that provide content that, and what that means is, you'll get some content, and that's the same content that every other customer in that service is getting. So that's great for like newsletters and stuff, where you're only sending it to your clients, and then your clients are probably not ever going to see any other, computer services newsletter. So that's fine. But when you take this content and put it on your website, then you're potentially having the same content on your website that dozens, maybe hundreds of other computer businesses have on their website. And there's a couple negatives to that. First of all, Google detects what's called duplicate content. And so as it's crawling the net and it sees a page of content, and that page is unique, it's never seen it before, it's like, okay, this is a unique page of content, let me put it in the index, let me figure out where to rank it and stuff like that. But then as it goes searching through the web and it finds another page on another website that has the exact same content that other page had, it says, oh, wait a minute, this isn't original content, this is something I've seen before. I might not even index it, I'm not going to bother putting it in the search engine, because it's just duplicate. Or I'm not going to rank it very high because it's not authoritative, it's been said before, so I'm just going to kind of toss it aside. So those pages, unless you are lucky enough to be the first person to publish that content, Google's going to see it more likely than not as duplicate, and then it's either not going to index it at all, which is the worst case scenario, then that page doesn't even show up in Google search engine at all, or it just doesn't rank it very well because Google wants to show the authoritative piece of content on that particular topic. And if it saw that content before, it's going to think you're just plagiarizing that content, and it's not going to show it. So if you care about SEO, if you care about these blog posts that you're writing being found by potential clients in search engines, then I would definitely shy away from posting the white label content on your blog. But the benefits is that if you want you just want fresh content to be available on your blog all the time, probably mostly to existing clients, and you want to be able to send them to your blog and say, hey, read our latest blog post, we got some great info. If you want something to share on social media, and you want it to just be really quick and really affordable, then that might be the way to go. I'm not a big fan of it. Personally, I think you can take that white label content and use it in great places like a newsletter or like in social media posts, because the actual posts in social media, I see kind of a trend going these days towards longer form content in social media on Facebook and other places, where you have like 3 or 4 paragraphs in a blog post or in a social media post, and that helps kind of pull the readers in, engage them, whereas they're typically just scrolling through the Facebook feed. If they land on like a nice meaty piece of content, they might dig in, and they're more likely to maybe click a link that you have or follow your post or something. So you can take that white label content and make a nice chunky thick Facebook post out of it, and then at the bottom say, hey, to learn more about this service, link back to your service page or something like that on your website. So that's a great place to use it, but I would recommend against posting white label blog posts on your website.
Yeah, and you can always, and I was just Googling right now, I couldn't remember the tool, Copyscape. Yep. So if you ever are curious on how many sites your blog post is appearing on, that's a good way to just look at that URL and see how many other sites have that blog post, to give you an idea of how many have that same content, especially if there are those that are in your same serviceable area. It might also maybe help you with some credibility as well.
Yeah, I would totally recommend that. Anytime you post new content, whether you get it from a writer or you write it yourself, maybe a couple weeks or a couple months later, run it through Copyscape. Number one, to make sure that the writer who's writing it for you isn't copying it from somewhere else. But also, a lot of times your competitors will maybe grab some blog posts from you and use them on their site. And then you can get some visibility into that. And I think we talked about that before on this podcast, about like some ways you can, some legal actions you could take to get them to take down any kind of duplicate content like that.
Yeah, it actually happened to me. Right. I forgot which show we talked about it. I don't know if it was the Computer Business Podcast or if it was this one, but yeah, it was interesting. First time that ever happened, and it worked out in my favor, but it was really interesting situation. All right, last item I have on the list before we wrap up is proofreading a blog. Is there any, so if we're deciding we write it all out and we just don't want to sound like fools, are there any services or resources other than just like going to like Upwork or something to get a proofreader? What do you suggest on home created content and making sure that it's the best that it can be?
That's a good question. I don't have a good answer for that, because for me, in the past, I've normally just sent it through a trusted friend or someone who I know, is a good writer or has some training in writing. I have a couple colleagues and web designer friends who have some copywriting experience. And a lot of times if I have an important piece of, important email or blog post or something, I'll have them check it out first to give me any pointers or check grammar or stuff like that. I know there's a service, I think it's called Grammarly, that I haven't used, but I know a lot of people swear by it, and I think it's like an extension you put in your browser, and anytime, you have a piece of content ready to publish, it'll check, the grammar, the spelling and everything in that piece of content to make sure it's good before you publish it. And so that's a cool service to look into as well. But other than that, I'm not sure any other good resources to go to for proofreading.
Yeah, that's Grammarly is actually probably one of the best extensions I've found. And yeah, like you said, I swear by it. It's helped me write or correct some funny emails that I was about to send out, because I write how I talk. So It's not really the proper way of getting it set out. So it works out in my favor. And then I'm just a horrible speller too. So it just kind of takes care of all that. So if you definitely, there's a free extension of it, and then there's a premium version. Definitely suggest a premium version for other connections and integrations that it has.
Yep. And I'm a horrible speller, and sometimes I'll spell a word wrong, but it'll be right, like as another word. So it won't get caught by the spell checker, right? It's the wrong word because I spelled the word I meant wrong, but it still is a word. And so it gets through, and that's always embarrassing after the fact. So something like Grammarly can help, or just, running it by someone before you publish it.
Yep. So yeah, that's what I got so far. I will give you a link on a link I found earlier today. It was a 21-step checklist to optimize your posts for Google. It's an infographic as well. But yeah, I think that answered quite a bit of just demystifying some of the things and really, what are the best practices to kind of do it on your own. But I am lazy and don't feel like doing that. So you know where I'm going to go to, and that's going to Tech Blog Builder and getting that all set up, because this is too much work for me.
Yeah, I mean, this was fun, right? Because this is like the stuff I live and breathe, and I do a lot of research on and look into, and I like doing it. But I don't often get a chance to talk about it with anyone because friends and family don't care, and so it's fun to be able to talk about this stuff to people who actually it's going to make a difference, and people who want to know about it. So awesome, this was fun. Great guys. So hey. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Computer Business Marketing Show. Great to see you guys in the chat and all the questions you guys have been asking in the chat. Keeping that going. It's great to have you guys participating over there. But also, you can keep the conversation going over at computerbusinessmarketing.com. If you can't join us for the live show, hop on over to the website. Every show episode is there, and every show episode has a comment form underneath where you can leave comments. Say what you liked, what you didn't like, ask questions. All that's available to you at computerbusinessmarketing.com. Also, don't forget to join us in the Facebook group. That's over at Computer Business Marketing. You can just search for Computer Business Marketing in Facebook, or go to techsitebuilder.com/group, and that will take you to the Facebook group where you can share tips and tricks about what's working for your marketing. People, ask advice. They share, hey, share a blog post you wrote, get some feedback. That's happened before. There's a lot of really smart people in that group that can give you constructive criticism about anything you're doing. And of course, the overall goal is to help everybody market their computer business better. We can't wait to see you there.
Yep. And if you are listening to the audio version of this show on the podcast on either iTunes or Stitcher, please be sure to give us a shout out and leave a review. I know we've been doing a pretty big push. We would really appreciate it. We love to hear your feedback, and every comment helps so that the podcast can be found by others out there.
And finally, don't forget to check out our sponsor for today. That is Tech Blog Builder at techblogbuilder.com. All right, guys, thanks for checking out this episode of the Computer Business Marketing Show. My name is Matthew Rodella.
And this is Paco LeBron.
Saying here's to your success.